Hey everyone, this is Russell Brunson. Welcome back to session number 5 of the Funnelology Masterclass, the new art and science of funnel building. I hope you guys have enjoyed all the sessions so far. We've been covering a lot of stuff and hopefully giving you guys an understanding of all of the funnel frameworks and how they work. Because again, they're not super complicated. They're simple when you start to understand them. So session number 1, we talked about the secret formula, figuring out who's your dream customer, where are they congregating, what's the bait you're going to use to grab them, get their attention, and then where are you going to take them. And inside there, we went deep into hook, story, offer, which is the framework we use to grab somebody so we can get their attention, tell them a story to build a relationship with them and increase the perceived value of the offer we're about to make them, and then we make them an offer. And notice I said an offer and we don't sell them a product, right? We create an offer because an offer increases the perceived value of the thing we're trying to sell, and it makes us unique so we're not a commodity, so it's something different that only we can offer. Okay, that was all session number 1. So if you missed it, make sure you go back and watch that because it was insane. Session number 2, then we talked about the result, like where are we taking somebody? Every single customer who comes into your world, if you have a transactional business, you're going to always struggle. You're always going to be working, like looking for the next sale, the next quick way to make cash, right? We don't want transactional business. We want businesses that are transformational. We're transforming people's lives. And so the big question is, when somebody comes into your world, where are you taking them? What's your value ladder look like? What's the Oz or the big result that your people are looking for? And how do you craft that and create it? How do you create a value ladder that grabs somebody and sends them up and provides value so they want more from you and provides more value so they want more from you so you can change their life, so you can get them to the end result they're looking for and you can help them find your Oz. Which I guess that means that you're the Wizard of Oz, which is kind of exciting. So congratulations. That was session number 2. Then from there we started diving into the value ladder and what happens at each funnel inside the value ladder. The next session was all about lead funnels, right? We talked about the 3 different types of lead funnels used to generate leads. And we talked about the reason why you want leads and why you're trying to build a list and the value of that list and why it's so important. Okay, we showed you those funnels. Then we moved up one tier of the value ladder. We showed you the unboxing funnels. Okay, from there we showed you the book funnels for any of our information-based businesses and cart funnels for any of our physical product businesses. And I also went deep into challenge funnels for anyone who wants to be able to take their customers and indoctrinate them before they send them up the value ladder. And so we've had a lot of fun so far. And now we're moving up to the next tier of the value ladder, which are our presentation funnels. And that's what session 5 is all about. So as we move up the value ladder, you can see we've got lead funnels, unboxing funnels. You guys are now masters of those levels, of those funnels, those frameworks. And now we're gonna be jumping into presentation funnels. And so that's kind of the game plan. Now I showed you guys this during yesterday's presentation, that basically all of these 2 tiers of the value ladder come off of you making an offer, right? We talked about that all during session number 1. We create this amazing offer, and we got 2 ways to sell that offer. Number 1 is we unbox that offer, like I showed you guys during yesterday's session. We say, okay, this first offer is going to be the first thing, and then the second thing, an upsell, and one more upsell. Number 2, the order form bump. Like we unbox that offer, and we lay it out in logical sequencing of offers. Okay. Or number 2 is take the entire offer we created and we just sell it all at once. Okay. This is where we start selling more expensive things. And so the way we sell something for $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 is by making a presentation, and that presentation increases the perceived value of what you're selling, and then you actually sell the person the thing. Okay. Now, I love all these types of funnels, but presentation funnels are one of my favorites. During the very first introduction session, I talked about hook, story, offer, and story selling, how we grab people and we tell stories. Like all those things we kind of talked about there are going to be elements inside of the presentations you are making. Now, one thing I would highly recommend, I'm not going to go deep into it during this training just because it's outside the context of what we're covering, but if you've read the Expert Secrets book or gone through my perfect webinar training, that presentation is perfect. That's why we call it the perfect webinar. It's the perfect presentation, right? And I would highly recommend studying that because it doesn't matter if you're using a video sales letter funnel, a webinar funnel, or a product launch funnel, the script is the same. That's the big secret. Okay? It's the same presentation. I use the perfect webinar on my video sales letters. I use the perfect webinar on my webinars. I use the perfect webinar on my product launch funnel. So that script, that presentation is important to master and to understand because it is where you're going to be plugging into all these different funnels. Okay? And I'll kind of show that a little bit as we go through here. But just for those of you who want to go deeper, again, this whole training of funnelology is more about the funnel structure and funnel frameworks. And then the art is you weaving your stories into it. And so that's the next piece for you to start learning and mastering is the art and how to do those presentations and things like that. Okay, so that's what's happening. Today, though, is we're focusing on presentation funnels. Okay, so there's 3 presentation funnels that we're talking about. The very first one is our video sales letter funnels. And this is honestly, for probably 5 or 6 years, this is the only type of funnel that I ever did. A lot of these other variations are things that we've kind of developed and pioneered a lot more so over the last 5 or 6 years. But the first decade, we pretty much were doing video sales letter funnels and sales letter funnels. And so I want to take a step back in time so you understand where these things came from. Because sometimes we're like, oh, this is a funnel. Like it just came because some guy was really, really smart and figured it out. And the answer is no. It came from people who are now dead, who were way smarter than us, and we're just basically copying them. Okay, if you rewind pre-Facebook, pre-MySpace, pre-Google, pre-internet, okay, back when the way we got all of our communication was either through a phone line or by the postman coming to our house and dropping off letters, this is where this whole concept of sales letters and video sales letters was pioneered. Okay, in fact, it probably went all the way back. Actually, it's not true. I did some research for the Traffic Secrets book trying to figure out when the first sales letters were ever done. And I don't remember the exact date, but I do remember finding the very first sales letter was basically people were trying to raise money. So they would send these letters in the mail to try to raise money. And so anyway, so if you look at this image here, the old school sales letters, the way that these would work is that a marketer like me or you would go and they'd rent a list and say, okay, I'm selling a fitness product. I'm gonna go find a list of people who bought in fitness products in the past, and they'd rent the buyer list. Then they'd write a letter, a big old sales letter. It had a headline and then a copy and then a subheadline, more copy, and then the back would have an order form. They take the letter, fold it up, put it in an envelope, and mail it to people who they knew were probably likely to buy some type of weight loss product. They send that letter out, and let's say they send out 1,000 letters to try to get a 2% or 3% response rate, right? So send 100 out, they get three orders. They get 1,000, they get 30 orders. And that was how the whole game was played. Okay? Prior to the internet, that's how direct response marketers made their money. Either they were doing direct response on radio or on TV, or the majority of it was happening through direct mail. Okay, and so I don't know about you guys if you remember getting sales letters like this, you got excited if you just threw them away, but I geeked out on them. My whole journey started back when I was about 11 or 12 years old. If you read the original .com Secrets book, you remember the story in there. But my dad one night every night he'd watch the news, and after the news was over, he'd be working, doing his business on the side, and he usually made me go to bed. But it was a weekend, and for some reason he didn't make me go to bed. I was watching the news with him, and the news ended, and I was like waiting for him to tell me to go to bed, and he didn't. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then a few minutes later, MASH came on. You guys remember MASH? That was the next show after the news every single night. So the MASH came on. I was like, this is amazing. Like, my parents watched MASH. I've never seen it before. And I remember I didn't really get many of the jokes, but it was just cool to be hanging out with my dad. And then MASH got over. All of a sudden, it flipped over to these infomercials. And the first infomercial was by this guy named Don Lepre, and he was teaching how to make money with tiny little classified ads. Any of you guys remember those ads? If you're not, you can go to YouTube and Google, and YouTube's type in Don Lepre, tiny classified ads. You'll see the old infomercials. But these infomercials changed my life. I was sitting there watching, I was like, oh my gosh. And I still remember the story he told. He said, he's like, I placed a classified ad in a newspaper and I made $30 profit. And I told my friends and my family, they kind of teased me. And I took that same ad and I placed it in 1,000 newspapers and I made $30,000 profit. I remember he said that. I was like, what? What, freaking out? I'm looking at my dad who's like doing his taxes, whatever he's doing. I'm like, Dad, are you paying attention? Like, he's not. I'm like freaking out. And then by the time the infomercial was over, I'm like, I am sold. But as a 12-year-old kid, I didn't have the $40 I needed or a credit card to order this thing. So I'm freaking out. And I wrote down the phone number and everything. I told my dad, like, we need to get this. And my dad kind of smiles like, okay. I'm like, no, we have to have this. And he finally told me, he's like, well, I'm not going to buy it for you, but if you want to work for it, you can. So he made me go out and mow the lawns and do gardening. And for the next 6 weeks, whatever, I did everything I could to earn my $40. And when I finally got done, I remember, this is kind of a funny side story. I remember I had the phone number I was going to call, but I was like, I remember in the infomercial, they said that if you call in the next 5 minutes, you get these three other bonuses. And I was like, Dad, I have to have those bonuses. So we can't call right now. We need to get the infomercial again and call during the infomercial so I don't miss out on these 3 bonuses. And I remember like sitting there every night with him. I like tell him, like, if it starts playing the ad, come wake me up. Come wake me up. And so a couple nights, one night comes in, hey, Russell, they're playing the ad. I'm like, what? I run out there and I get all excited and we watch. As soon as the phone number comes out, I call the number on the phone and then I hand it to my dad and he puts the credit card in. And a week later, I get this kit in the mail and I'm like freaking out, reading all this stuff. And it was awesome. The biggest problem I had is that as a 12-year-old kid, I didn't have the money to place a classified ad or a product to sell. I didn't know what to do, but I was obsessed. Like, I got the gist. I remember like a couple weeks later, I was with my mom at the grocery store and walking around. And we saw this magazine. It was the Small Business Opportunity magazine, which, I mean, if you buy a magazine, you should always see it there. There's always like cartoon faces on, like how to get rich quick through whatever. And I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get rich quick. So I got it, I'm flipping through and there's all these ads in there. I'm like, Mom, can you please buy this for me? And she's like, you're ridiculous. And finally she said yes, pays the $5, buys the magazine for me. I get home and I start opening it up and every single page is an ad for a new way to make money. Like, one was like how to sell gold chains at the mall to make money. One was how to paint glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling to make money for people. Like, all these ideas. And every single one of them had a 1-800 number to call to order a free information kit. So I started calling every single one, like literally, I think it was a 144 page magazine, and there were 4 pages of articles and 140 pages of ads. So I called all 140 of them. And what happened is that every single person sent me out their info kit, and then guess what? They sold my name to other direct response marketers, and they sold to other people, and soon I was getting hundreds of letters every single day in the mail, and it was amazing. So I tell you this story because I was like a 12-year-old kid, and I'd get these sales letters in the mail, and I'd get it, and I look at the envelope, and the headline, on the envelope sometimes they have a copy on the envelope, like, you open up to learn how to make money at your local mall. I'm like, oh, and I open it, I pull it out, it's this huge letter. I'd read page 1, page 2, and I read every single one of them. And then they'd always have an order form. I'm like, And I remember as I was doing that, there was two buckets. One I'd read, I'm like, that sounds stupid. One I'd be like, this is the greatest idea of all time. I must beg my parents for my credit card to order this kit. And I have like the 2 different piles. And so for me, like as a 12-year-old dorky kid, I was reading sales letter after sales. Like I was just obsessed with this thing, right? And a few years after I got into wrestling and I forgot about selling stuff and I got obsessed with wrestling. And then I wrestled at BYU. They cut the wrestling program. I went on a mission for 2 years for my church. After that, I went to Boise State and I started wrestling at Boise State. And about that time is when I met my beautiful wife. I proposed to her. She said yes, without knowing that I had $0 and no job and no prospects because I was wrestling. And we decided to get married. And about 2 or 3 weeks before we got married, I was like, I got to figure out how to pay for stuff because I have $0. It's funny how these things don't go through your mind as you're proposing and everything. It's just like later when you're like, how are we going to eat? Anyway, and so I'm sitting there, and that night I see an ad for this How to Get Rich Quick on the Internet thing, and it was like this event that's happening local Holiday Inn, which is actually not too far from here. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get rich on the internet. So I called the number, got the tickets, went to Holiday Inn, and I'm sitting there, and I remember the dude sitting there talking, and he starts showing these things. He said, this is a sales letter. He's like, it's like a big long letter, and it's a web page, has this huge letter, and we go and buy ads, we drive people to sales letter, and if like 1% of people read it, they buy the product, you make money. And as I'm looking at it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what everyone was doing with sales letters like back when I was a teenager, right? They were finding a list of people who are interested in the topic, they'd write a long form sales letter, they'd put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, mail it to somebody, and hopefully 1 or 2% of people bought the thing, and that's how they made money. This is the same thing, instead of having a print thing, it's just this long website with a sales letter, you drive people who are interested to the sales letter and try to get 1 or 2% of people to buy. And my mind was just blown. I was like, I already know what they're doing, this is amazing. And I started freaking out, and that was where I got started in this business, okay? And from there, I started finding all these websites that long form sales letters, and at first I was just always confused by it, because I was like, why would someone read this? It's so long. But then the right sales letters, the ones that had information that I was interested in, I would read 60, 70 pages of copy sometimes. And by the time I got to the bottom, I was like, I must give these people money. Like I have to, right? I'm sure most of you guys have been sucked into a really good sales letter. And so for the next, probably 7 or 8 years of my business, that was what it was. We were writing long form sales letters. We'd find a product, create an offer, make a long form sales letter, drive traffic to that thing. And that was how we did everything. And this is about the time that YouTube started coming out and people started doing videos. But the problem we do videos and the bandwidth was so hard, it was so expensive, and videos were super choppy, and if you had too many videos on a page, the whole page would crash, and it just wasn't like efficient to do videos. So some people were like, oh yeah, this is the future, we're gonna make video infomercials, and it never really got to that, but it took a long time. And I remember a couple years later, I had this friend, his name is Keith Wellman, and Keith one day had an idea, and he took his long form sales letter and he turned it into a video. But it was crazy. All it was like a video. You've probably seen some of these before. It was like the first sentence, and then he read it. It was like, hey guys, welcome to our website. And then it showed the second sentence. Over the next 3 minutes, I'm going to teach you blah, blah, blah. And then the next sentence, it basically read the sales letter to you. And I remember watching it, I was like, this is so weird. And it's frustrating because I wanted to scroll and scan through and see everything, but I couldn't because there's no way to scroll or scan. It was just this video, and it was like sentence after sentence after sentence. And I got so hooked in because I wanted to see what the next sentence was going to be. I sat there and I watched this whole thing for like 20, 25 minutes. And by the time it was done, then he had an order link pop open and to go sell the product. And I remember watching that. I was like, that was fascinating. I couldn't stop watching this thing. And anyway, I messaged Keith. I was like, how's it doing? And he told me, like, I can't remember the sales, but it was like over $1 million during the Christmas vacation. It's like I had no product launch, no nothing. I just sent an email out to my list for this thing, and people went crazy for it. And from then, after that, people started getting obsessed with video sales letters. And video sales letters at first were just basically a long form sales letter, but instead of like someone reading it, just said like, here's the headline, here's sentence number 1, here's sentence number 2, and like the person would read it as it was appearing one sentence at a time, okay? And these still actually work really effectively. You've probably seen a lot of people doing them. I haven't done one for a while, but they still work really well. And so for the next man, probably 5 or 6 years, everyone's shifted to video sales letters. It was just video sales letters and no copy whatsoever. It's just video and that was it. And I think that it was so unique at the time. Like people sitting there, like they start a video and like, I can't leave, and they watch the whole video. And for the next 5 or 6 years, like those work the best in the world. Now fast forward to today, I've found, and I'm not sure if it's true in every market, but most of the markets I've dabbled in and played with, it's kind of a blend of both. It's not just a sales letter or just a video. It's a blend of both where there's a video at the top, right? And then the sales letters down below. And a lot of times it's the exact same thing word for word, but you have different modalities that people like to learn from, right? And like to listen. So I'm curious for you guys listening right now, how many of you guys right now like to consume things through video like this? Like you're like, I just want to watch a video and have someone explain it to me. Okay, if you're a video person, you're number one. Okay, number two, if you're someone like, I don't like video, I just don't want to read something, I want to scroll through and be able to read and get the bullet points really fast, you're my readers. Who are my readers? Okay, so one or two. So if you're a video person, type in video down below. Type video. Okay. Now if you're a text person, write text down below. I just want to see like text versus audio, how many there are. Okay, text versus video. My guess is it's probably like 50-50. Like half of you guys want to watch videos, half of you guys want to read text. And my guess is for the most part, if it's video, you're just going to bounce. Or if it's a text, you're going to go with the modality you like the most. And so I found for highest conversion today, and this may shift tomorrow, who knows, is having a video up top for the people who want video and having the long form sales letter down below. But it's typically the same copy, but one's for my watchers, one's for my readers. And I notice like if you watch the analytics on a page, you'll see your viewers sitting there and watch the whole video. Whereas your readers come, they watch for like 3 seconds, they pause, they scroll down, they start reading. Okay. And so I like having both. And so most of my videos, sales letters have both elements in it, okay? All right, so there's a very long story to get you to where we are today for video sales letter funnel. Okay, so here's what a video sales letter funnel looks like. Again, typically I'm gonna be selling, they're kind of similar to the unboxing funnels, but you notice that the order form's not at the top. It's because I'm selling something more expensive, so I need more time to explain what it is before I ask somebody for money. Okay, with no-brainer like low ticket, like free plus shipping up to 10, 20, 30 bucks, a lot of times it's okay to have an order form up high because it doesn't take a lot for me to convince somebody to buy. If I'm selling a $500 product, I wanna make sure I have the presentation pretty close to done before I say, here's what the price is, okay? And so you notice the order form is usually down below or it's on a separate page. Okay, and so this is kind of structure. There's a video down below. There's going to be called a video spoiler box. There's an add to cart button, and down below that, I'll have like typically my long form sales letter down below. We have order form bump, and then upsell 1, 2, and thank you. Okay, now I'm not going to go deep in upsell 1, 2, and thank you because those are very similar to what we did in the unboxing funnel. So if you haven't watched those videos yet, go back, watch the unboxing videos because it's the same concept. If I'm selling information product, my upsells are going to be the next logical thing. Okay, if I'm selling physical products, it's going to be more of the same thing at a discount. Okay, so that's what you just got to kind of understand. The upsell pages are very almost identical to the unboxing funnels. Okay, it's just the video sales letter is the thing that's different in this funnel. Okay, so here's an example of a video sales letter we did. This is for the old Funnel University. We had a headline up top and there's a video of me. And this one I didn't do PowerPoint style. It was me basically doing my presentation, just like I would do a webinar. But this became my webinar and the entire presentation was here. Okay, so that's how the video sales letter worked. And some of you guys might be thinking, well, Russell, what do I say inside my video sales letter? So I want to do two things. Number one, I want to go back to presentation number 1 to kind of touch upon it. The very first session, we talked about hook, story, offer. But number 2, if you want to go deep and really understand this, you can study my trainings on the perfect webinar and help you understand exactly how to craft this, okay? But basically it comes back to what I say in the video, you are telling your Epiphany Bridge story. Someone's coming to this video, they're just like you, and you have to remember this. You have to remember what was the emotional experience you had, what's the epiphany, what's the bridge you had that got you over here, okay? And you gotta remember, no techno babble, you come back and you're telling them your story. Okay, that's the core concept of what's happening there. Okay, now this is the perfect webinar framework. Okay, I told you guys on session 1, there's 4 core stories, right? the first shot at the big domino is your origin story. So if someone comes to my video, it's like, hey, my name is Russell Brunson. Let me tell you my story about why I think funnels are the fastest way for you to grow your company. And I told the origin story about my Epiphany Bridge origin story about why I believe that this thing I'm about to offer is the greatest thing in the world. Okay, right? Then from there I come down and say, okay, what's the vehicle? What are their false beliefs about the vehicle? Now I'm gonna tell them the story that hopefully gonna trump their story that breaks the false belief they have about the vehicle. Then I move to the second part of this, or the secret number 2, which is their internal beliefs. Like what's the thing personally? Like, I believe this is a good thing, but I don't think I can do it. Then I tell a story about that. Boom. And then the third thing, again, I believe funnels are the greatest thing in the world. I believe I can actually do it, but I can't do it because I don't know how to drive traffic, right? Or I believe that keto is the best diet for me. I believe I can actually do it, but my wife's going to buy ice cream and I know, and then I'm going to fall out of ketosis and the whole thing's going to fall apart. The external belief, right? So I tell the third story about the external belief, and then from there I move down and I do the stack and the close, okay? And again, if you've read the Expert Secrets book and gone through any of my perfect webinar training, this is stuff we talk about all the time. So I'm not going to go deep into it, but it's me telling my 4 core stories and then making my offer through the stack and the close. Okay, that's what I put in here Go back. That's what I put into this video right here. Okay. All right. And then if my stories trump theirs, that's the sales video. That's the sales letter. If my story trumps theirs, knocks down the big domino, and they become a customer. That's it. Okay, so that's the first part of the page. I have the headline top, I have the video sales letter, and then below the video, I have what I call a video spoiler box. I try to get everyone to call it the Brunson box, but nobody ever does. So if you want to like kiss up to me, call it the Brunson box. If you want to call it what it is, it's a video spoiler box. So the video spoiler box, the goal of the video spoiler box is to get someone who's coming down to see the video, like, oh, am I going to watch this or not? And they start kind of going down and you have this opportunity to grab them before they leave, right? It's almost like a preview or a trailer. In a movie, right? Like you see the trailer, you're like, okay, I want to watch that. That's what the video spoiler box is to kind of grab them really quick and be like, wait, don't bounce on the video. This is where you're going to learn the video and like hopefully hook them a couple times. So like, oh yeah, I want to be a part of this video. I want to watch this, right? So for me, usually the video spoiler box, I've got 4 different things here. Number 1 is the hook. It's a hook that's inside the video that I'm gonna hook them with, right? So like in this one, for example, secret number 1, tiny tweaks can make a huge changes. I'm gonna show you 4 of my top split tests that are so simple and you can use them in just minutes that will dramatically increase your conversion. Boom, there's a hook, right? And a story and an offer. Like all those things are in there. Like watch this video because you're gonna learn this right here. Number 2, here's the next hook. Boom, not all people buy the same way. Here's a story. Let me show you the secret step that I had before my funnels allowed me to know exactly how to get them to buy. Boom, and then the offer's like, go watch the video. Okay, number 3, secret number 3, there are only 3 funnels that actually matter. We found that 98% of our income came from just 3 funnels. If you're focusing on anything else, you're just flushing your money down the toilet. Hook, story, and the video, the offer's to go watch the video, right? And then number 4 here is, what's the next step? Get your 14-day trial membership to funnel. So this is like where we're going, hook, story, and then go watch the video for the offer. Okay, and so that's the video spoiler box that gets them to actually go back and like, I gotta figure out what is number 3, what's number 2? Like it gets them to go back and consume the actual video. Okay, it's crazy to me, like all the highest converting offers I see online from the big, huge brands, the big companies, all have a video spoiler box, and I almost see nobody in our industry ever use these, which blows my mind, but they work very, 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 very good. Okay, so video spoiler box. So that's step number 1 here inside of the funnel. Is that right there. And again, if you're doing a sales letter version, underneath the add to cart button, then I have the whole long form version of the sales letter down there. And then from there, the rest of the funnel is the same as unboxing funnels. Okay, we have an order form bump, we have upsell 1, upsell 2, and thank you page where we can send them to the next funnel or whatever happens to that step. Okay, so that is the video sales letter funnel. That's the first type of presentation funnel. All right, now we move on to funnel number 2, which is a webinar funnel. Now, most of you guys know that the way we grew ClickFunnels, we used a lot of different types of funnels, but the primary way, especially initially, to get us from 0 to 10,000 customers was 100% through webinar funnels. We just had one funnel and we perfected it and we did it over and over and over and over and over again. If you read the Expert Secrets book, the original version, I go through deep about how we did it and how it worked and the process. And basically, we did a webinar at least once a week, every single week. We spent the whole week filling the webinar. We did the webinar, we closed it out, and we kept doing that process over and over and over again. Okay. I still think if I was to start a new company from scratch, the very first funnel that I would focus on is webinar funnel. That'd be the very first thing I would do immediately to get started. I think the majority of people come to my world to be like, hey, Russell, I learned about all the funnels. Which one should I do first? For most of you guys, this is the one I'd recommend you do first. Not everybody. Like if you're selling physical products, I probably would start with the webinar. But if you're selling any type of information products, any type of coaching, consulting, all those kind of things, webinar funnel is still my favorite. So take that for what it's worth. All right, webinar funnels. This is what a basic webinar funnel looks like. It's very simple and very basic. There's a page people register. There's a thank you page, thank you for registering. Then they actually have the webinar that happens somewhere. And then at the end of the webinar, you sell them your offer. Okay, there's an order form. That's kind of it. It's very simple and very easy, right? So for example, this is the webinar funnel that built ClickFunnels. Okay, it's not difficult, it's not complicated, but there's some strategy to understand it. How, again, there's the framework and then the things we weave into the framework. So let me walk you through that. So you saw the framework, let me walk you through the art that goes into it, okay? So the first is the registration page. Now, a couple things on the registration page. The more curiosity you weave into the registration page, the higher your registration rate will be, okay? Listen to how much curiosity is in this headline. My weird niche funnel that's currently making me $17,947 per day and how to ethically knock it off in less than 10 minutes. Okay. My weird niche funnel, like that causes curiosity. It's currently making 17 grand a day. Like what? 17 grand a day, and how to ethically knock it off. How do you ethically knock something off? That makes no logical sense whatsoever. And you do it in less than 10 minutes, like there's so much curiosity. Even the image, you're like, why is Russell like hang loose? Like what's he doing? He's holding a web page and like, it's just weird, right? And so much curiosity, like, I don't know what this is, but I need to register. Okay, so this is what we use to launch ClickFunnels, and I was doing this webinar, honestly, it was 3 to 5 times a week during the first 4 or 5 months of ClickFunnels, and we got down to like two times a week, and then by the end it was once a week. And that's how we got from 0 to the first 10,000 members, was by me doing this webinar over and over and over and over again, okay? That was the hook that got people in. Okay, so that's page number 1. After they register, then the next page is our thank you page. We say, thank you so much for registering. The webinar is happening Tuesday, or it's happening Friday, or whatever that thing might be, okay? Here I like to give them reminders, like don't forget, put it on your calendar, like all the things so they're not gonna forget about the webinar, okay? And then the next thing you can do here is you can, there's a couple of different methodologies, but basically it's like you can make them an offer on the thank you page. If the webinar's not for 2 more days, like you have this gap right now. What if you create something that you put on the thank you page that you could then sell to get, to recoup the advertising costs that you spent to get someone to buy here? Okay, sometimes we call this a self-liquidating offer. So like I put an offer right here like, hey, before you come to the webinar, go buy this $20 ebook. It's gonna help you understand blah. It's gonna help you when you get on the webinar, right? Something like that. So this is a great spot where you can sell something. What we did when we launched ClickFunnels is we told people to go get a 2 free trial. They registered for the webinar. I said, webinar's coming up. To prepare for the webinar, go get a free trial of the ClickFunnels and just try it out. And so we got people to go and create an account here and create their account at ClickFunnels before they came. And I also said, get an account at ClickFunnels and buy your .com Secrets book. So by getting everyone to register for webinar, we start pushing them to the next steps in our value ladder. Go get a free trial, go buy my book, and gets them into the buying process. Okay, so that's kind of what happens. Registration page, thank you page. Now, inside ClickFunnels, we don't have software that actually runs the webinar. Okay, so the ones that we typically use, either GoToWebinar or Zoom, are 2 amazing webinar platforms, and they integrate into ClickFunnels. Okay, so if you look at page number 1, this page right here, this is built in ClickFunnels, and I integrated either GoToWebinar or Zoom into this funnel. So when someone clicks on it, they put the email address in, it goes and creates the webinar inside of Zoom or GoToWebinar. Okay, so then what happens now is then when the webinar happens Thursday at 2 or whenever you're doing it, boom, they log in to GoToWebinar, log into Zoom, and there's a live video of you doing your presentation, okay? And that's it. So this is an example of a GoToWebinar that me and Jim Edwards did where we were selling funnel scripts, okay? It's just a live presentation of us selling our thing. You know, I'd be wondering, well, Russell, what do I say to this presentation? Well, let me guess. You should guess. You're gonna do this. You're gonna tell your epiphany story about why you care about this thing, why it's so exciting. Okay, you're gonna tell your origin story at the very beginning, your first push of the big domino. They're gonna tell your story about your vehicle, about internal beliefs, your external beliefs, and you're gonna do the stack and the close. Okay, literally perfect webinar 101. You're gonna go watch that training and read the Expert Secrets book, master it, and that's the presentation you give. Okay, and if you do that, you do the right, all dominoes will fall. At the end of the webinar, they're gonna rush to the order form to give you money. Now, one big thing to understand, we tested this like crazy. On the order form, you don't want to go and like do a long form sales that are re-explaining everything. I've seen more people talk someone out of a sale with their order form than anything else. If they go to your order form, they are ready to buy. All you do is you just let them buy. Like that's it. Don't, like I usually have a recap like here's everything you're getting in the offer, here's a picture of it, give me your credit card. Okay, it's just very simple, very easy. I'm not trying to go and make this more complicated than that. Okay, all right. And then in the webinar funnel, after it's live, we usually put up a replay page, which is a simple page in ClickFunnels, replay page, and we usually will give them some urgency and scarcity, like, hey, the replay is gonna be up for 2 days, go check it out. And we'll have a couple emails saying, talking about urgency and scarcity. This page, we're pulling the replay down in 24 hours, in 12 hours, in 3 hours it's gone, and then that pushes people through the cycle of urgency and scarcity, okay? And that's basically how the webinar funnel works. And like I said, that's how we built ClickFunnels. What was interesting is, if you look at year 1 of ClickFunnels, when the year ended, we had 10,000 members in ClickFunnels. And what happened is we had about 2,500 people who bought ClickFunnels from the webinar. We had a $1,000 version back then. So 2,500 people bought from the webinar. And from that, remember on the thank you page, I told people to go get a free trial. For every person that bought the $1,000 version of ClickFunnels, what was the number? 3 people stuck on the trial. Okay, so at the end of year 1, we had 2,500 people pay $1,000, and we had 7,500 people who were on trial paying $97 a month. Okay, and that was the foundation of how we built and launched and grew ClickFunnels. Okay, so that's why webinar funnels are so powerful. Now, there's a variation for those of you guys who either have a webinar presentation that's killing it, or you don't want to do live webinars, which I can go on a rant another day. You should do a live webinar at least like 100 times before you automate it. But when you're ready, you can create an automated webinar funnel, which is very similar, but there's some different intricacies, okay? So basically, the way an auto webinar funnel works is someone registers, and then the webinar actually happens in ClickFunnels. It's a video presentation of your webinar. It happens on ClickFunnels, and from there, it pushes in the order form, Okay, it's very simple. So for example, this is our funnel scripts webinar. We did it live. Jim Edwards and I did it live initially through a regular webinar funnel. Then when it was done, we took that presentation that was recorded, it converted great, and we put it here. So we made a webinar registration page. And notice this one saying, hey, the webinar's starting today at 10:30 a.m. So you got 8 minutes before it starts. Come register. They register it. And it takes them to the next page. Oh, and then here's another variation. This is our secretfunnelstrategy.com. Same thing. We got a webinar right here. They register for it, and they get a 48-hour pass. So it says, registered, you got 48 hours to watch this presentation. Okay, and then boom, and from there it takes them to the actual broadcast room where it's the webinar video embedded on the page. So this is me and Jim doing our webinar on the page. This is me at the 10X GrowthCon doing my presentation. Videos embedded on the page, and they're both there. Now, a couple of things you'll notice that are kind of fun on the 10X Secrets one on the right-hand side. Number one is notice down below the video what we did. It says 10X Growth Conference timestamps. They have all these timestamps in there. Does that look like anything to you guys? This is a modified video spoiler box. Okay, it's me taking bullet points of all the important things that happen throughout the presentation, all the little hooks that I can use to grab someone in there, right? So it's a timestamp. At 1 minute 53, I'm gonna show you how to instantly outspend your competitors and capture more potential customers in your market. Number two, at 11 minutes 22 seconds, you're gonna learn that the life you want, the marriage you want, the family you want is gonna be fueled by the businesses you build, and so on and so forth. So I have all these little hooks down there, a little modified video spoiler box to get them to watch the presentation. I've done all of my presentations, but we did it here, it's working great. I also on this one have a little button that says read transcripts, and I click on there, it opens up a new page where someone can we took the whole presentation, made a huge long sales letter, and they can read it. So I have a version for my people like video, and my version for people who like to read text. And I have people who literally will come here and they'll download the transcripts, print them out, and they'll sit there and read them on their page, read them like a newspaper and circle things, and then that gets them to go and buy. So I have both modalities there. Okay, so understand, you don't have to do all these things. Most of my funnels, I don't have a video and the transcript and the video spoiler box. Those are the art that I'm weaving into the funnel framework. Okay, because the funnel framework is simple: registration page where we actually show the presentation, and then order form. Okay, but I'm just weaving in my art. That's why I want to show you both of these because they're similar, but they're both different as well. Okay, and then here's the order form. Again, order form simple. There's no me reselling. It's just saying here's a recap of all the things you're going to get, and then here's where you put in your credit card. Okay. And then obviously after someone registers, we have email sequences that push them to go watch the webinar. We have urgency and scarcity. We gave them a 48-hour pass. After 48 hours, then 24 hours, then 12 hours, and 3 hours. And then from there, we pull the webinar presentation down for them. Okay? So the email sequences move them through emotion and logic and fear, urgency and scarcity. Okay, so those are the different webinar funnels. All right? Okay, I got one more funnel type to show you guys. All right, so the third funnel type is a product launch funnel. Now, a product launch funnel was made famous by my friend Jeff Walker. And Jeff Walker, he actually, when we launched the .com Secrets book initially, he won the affiliate contest. And I gave away a Ferrari that I'd won in another affiliate contest, and he won it. So Jeff is a really, really smart guy, and he's pioneered this. It's been used by so many people. It's not my personal favorite funnel type, just because I love webinars so well. But people who like product launches, they kill it. And I've done a bunch of them as well. I'll kind of show you guys the process because it is a really powerful funnel type. So number one, here's the funnel structure. This is the framework of what a product launch funnel looks like. Okay, the very first page is a free workshop where you get someone's email address. Okay, the lead magnet is this workshop. Okay, they opt in, and then there's a video. Number one, there's a video, and people leave comments down below. And then a couple days later, they get video 2 with comment. People can comment down below. A couple days later, video 3, they comment down below, and then a couple days later, they get video 4 where they make an offer, and then it takes them to an order form, and then from there they buy the product. Okay, so that's what the product launch funnel looks like. Jeff Walker calls this a sideways sales letter, which is kind of interesting. So he says basically, typically most people have this long form sales letter selling it. He's like, all I'm doing is I'm tipping this sales letter on the side, boom. And the video number 1 is me teaching the very first part of my sales letter. Video 2 is the second part of the sales letter. Video 3 would be the third part, and video 4 is the fourth part. Okay, so he's extending this consumption of this training / selling over a period of time. Okay, and it might be each day they get a new video. Sometimes it's every 3 days, every 5 days they get a new video. But that's kind of how it's structured and how it's set up. Okay, all right, so let me show you how this works. So page number 1 is your lead magnet. You're giving away a free workshop. Okay, so hey, opt in here. I'm gonna give you a free workshop about how to build your funnels quickly, or whatever it might be, right? So that's video number 1. They put their name and email address in, and then boom, now it unlocks the lead magnet, which is this workshop. Okay, so video number 1, boom, they get the first video, which is the first part of the workshop, and they get video number 2 a couple days later, video number 3 a couple days later, And that's kind of works. Some of you guys might be wondering, well, Russell, what do I say in those videos? Okay, you're never gonna guess. Okay, literally, you tell your stories, right? You tell your Epiphany Bridge stories about your thing. Okay, what's interesting is when I do mine, I use the same perfect webinar framework. Okay, video number 1 is my origin story and my story about the vehicle. That's video number 1. Video number 2 is talking about the internal beliefs. Video number 3 then is going into the external beliefs. And number 4 is doing the stack and the close. Okay, so again, if you've studied the perfect webinar or read the Expert Secrets book, you know this framework already. It's just taking those stories in that order. And now video number 1 is your origin and vehicle. Video 2 is internal beliefs. Video 3 is external beliefs. Video 4 is your stack and your close. Okay, it's again, he calls it sideways sales letter. It's the same thing. I'm taking this structured sales presentation that's proven to work over and over and over again. I'm just tipping outside. I'm giving them this first chunk first, second chunk later, third chunk later, fourth chunk later. Okay. Now, if I do this presentation right, I do the video 1, 2, 3, 4 correctly, then my stories will trump theirs, and their big dollar is going to fall, and they're going to go to the order form, and they're going to buy my product. Okay. Video number 4 again is the stack and the close. This is where I basically do my presentation. If I come back to module number 1 of this training course, I showed you guys the first 15 minutes is my origin story, second 15 minutes is secret 1, secret 2, secret 3, the first hour, and the last 30 minutes is my stack and my close. That's what this presentation is. This is my stack and my close I do for 30 minutes here. Okay, so here's the product launch funnel. Again, free workshop page, this is the framework. Video 1, video 2, video 3, video 4 is where they get the offer. Okay, and that's the product launch funnel. Okay, do you guys see how, if you look at any of the funnels here, the presentation funnels, it's not something brand new you got to learn or discover, right? It's taking, here's my presentation. There's different ways I can show that. Number 1 is I show it just as a video sales letter, right? Or number 2, I do it as a webinar. Someone registers and I do that presentation live in a live webinar, right? Or number 2.5 is I take my live one and I replicate the process by building out that auto webinar structure, but I'm building it out in an automated webinar, right? Or number 3 is I'm taking that video, that presentation, I'm chopping up into video 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, but it's the same presentation. It's just 3 different ways to deliver that presentation. Okay, so that's what's so core to understanding. At this level of the value ladder, when you're selling something from $500 to a couple $1,000s, you sell it through a presentation. The presentation is the same. Okay, if you've been geeking out with me at all over the last couple of years, talking about perfect webinar, expert secrets, all this stuff like that, presentation has not changed or shifted at all. 1 iota. All it's done is you're just taking that presentation and you're delivering it through a couple different ways. Okay, and each of them, there's pros and cons of every single one of them, but that shows you the frameworks of how they work. And now you just got to go take your art, your stories, your things that you've kind of figured out, your offers, and you're weaving those things into the funnel structure for your presentation funnel. Does that make sense? Okay, all right, so if you look at that right now, we have covered lead funnels, our lead funnel, survey funnel, summit funnels, your unboxing funnels, your book funnel, your cart funnel, your challenge funnel, and now we've talked about presentation funnels, our video sales letter funnel, our webinar funnels, and our product launch funnels. So we're gonna break here in a few minutes for lunch and to kind of get ready for the next session. The last session here we're going to be talking about is the back of the value ladder. How do you sell really expensive things? Things from $8,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 to $18,000 to $25,000 to $36,000 to $50,000 to $100,000 and $1 million and below. Okay, if your business is something that's selling those type of things or you want it to be someday in the future, that's what these phone funnels are for. They're powerful, they're simple, they're easy to use. And now when you understand the structure of those, you can weave your art into it and you can sell really high, expensive things very, very quickly. So with that said, thanks you guys so much. We'll take a 30-minute break, a little 27-minute break or so. And when we come back, we will jump into back-end phone funnels. Thanks you guys, and we'll talk to you all in a few minutes.